But then I tried singing and I wasn't a good singer.
Oh,
Then I realized
I'm
that
sorry,
like
I have this image of that moment in my...
seriously, I was just like, oh no.
I have this image of your mother holding your dad's head in her lap, just stroking his head. It's okay. There are other children.
I know, he's like, we need to make the
There are
boys.
other
We need to make the boys. She's not going to cut it. He's like, you know what, Eve? You're going to be fine in Hollywood.
Thanks for coming in and taking the time to talk about a movie, which the good news is we ain't pre-promoting nothing. You can watch this.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's nice to be able to talk about something that's living and breathing, get your perspective on how it feels after the fact. I always feel bad for people when they come in to talk in particular about movies. And it's like, it's the greatest movie ever. And it's like, how do you know? It's not out. Like, no one's really talked about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this has been beautifully received.
It really has.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole process of it was one of those freaky, movie making magic things that it's what the dream is, but you never really have those experiences. So already it was fantastic for me on a personal level, but then we took it to Sundance and oh my God, it exploded.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that moment of like, people, first of all, I haven't done that much comedy. I did comedy in Bad Sisters, but that's TV, so you don't get to watch it with people. This was an audience of people actually laughing at my jokes, which was like, my ego was just exploding.
Listen, I watched it on my own and I was laughing out loud.
Yeah.
Because also you got to remember that, personally, New Zealanders and the Irish, we have very similar senses of humor.
True.
So the stuff that may be a little on the edge for some people, I was just fucking pissing myself.
I know. Some Americans are like, oh my Lord.
I know. In particular, the last scene before the actual name of the movie comes up where you and Max are talking, I was like slow clapping on TV, like fucking amazing.
I mean, reading the script, I was genuinely, I know people are like, oh my God, I loved reading the script. I had to put it down and to laugh.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe that this is written. I mean, the scene with I don't know what I can say, but the suggestion of the blowjob.
Yeah, dude. That is so fucking fantastic because it's so cruel. It's that scene where it's just like, it is using everything you have to just destroy somebody. Destroy this guy. Yeah. And he's just like...
Yeah. And it was great because the scene already was so funny.
Yeah.
And what was happening on set that day was Jack and I think that was our first day working together, who plays Ian, Jack Rayner, and Oren Kinlan, who plays my son Max. He's there and we're going, should we run the lines? But Oren's sitting next to us and he's 14.
Yeah.
So we're running the lines and I just start going, does she blow you like that? And Jack cracks up and he's like, you have to do it like that. He's like, you got to do it like, you're like,
I know, it's so
and
good.
so we start doing it like that and everyone's laughing, like the whole crew are dying. And then John Carney comes up with this great line. He's like, you got to say, we'll send Max off for an ice cream. It's like, we were like, this is so wrong. And then, come on, Max. All right, let's go. Like nothing ever happened.
But that is Flora. Like, it's just water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
Until it's not. And it takes a while to realize, Joni Mitchell really, to realize that it's all going somewhere. Right?
Yeah.
It is all got to go somewhere. And when it comes up and it comes out, the blinds open up a little more. The sun starts to come in a little more.
Yeah. And that's what I love about her in particular, because I know growing up in Dublin, there's so many. I mean, first of all, as Irish people, we don't do the kind of self-pity thing. We don't wallow. We don't talk about our problems. We laugh. We crack jokes. We deflect. We go out. We dance.
Yeah.
We drink.
We drink.
We do. We kind of, it all comes out of our system in a different way. We fight. And we're charming at it all. But what I really liked about Flora was she has all of that. And she doesn't want to talk about her issues. She doesn't want to, go there. She wants to, turn you on and flirt with you. And then to have her just
Flirt or
open.
fight.
Flirt or fight.
And really, sometimes it's hard to distinguish between the two.
That's a good Dublin woman.
But I mean, if you're looking for it, I feel like the character of Flora is, there is a strong spirit, a strong soul in this character that is constantly trying to put solutions and ideas and ways forward in front of her.
Yeah.
Even the moment when she sees the guitar, beautifully done the way you did that. It was so off the cuff. Oh, well, look, it's free. I'll go in and get it and whatever and just dust it off. But that's really the beginning of redemption.
Yeah. Little does she know.
But something inside her does.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think, I don't know. I was really touched by the character.
And what I love too is watching someone who has told herself that she's probably, her life is kind of panned out and, you know, she had this kid, she made this decision and using the kid as an excuse to not really live the life that she wants, to not become the person that she wants to be, to not have that relationship or, you know, step outside of herself in any way. And watching her just do something outside of the box but not being anything but herself in that moment, you know, and even the songs, her lyrics are so her.
Yeah.
She doesn't try to do anything else. She's just like funny, smart, pushy, all of those things. And then she realizes that the answer to who she is has been living with her for the last 14 years.
And
you know?
and that's a lovely moment in the film too, where you think, okay, this is going to become a love story. Mm-hmm. It's going to swerve very quickly into a love story.
Yeah.
And then that's put on ice for a second.
Yeah.
And the real resolution is achieved, which is that the family unit finds the healing, even down to Ian playing the bass. And by the way, respect to him. He's a funny guy. What a funny actor.
Jack's fantastic.
So funny.
I know.
He makes me laugh just the way he looks.
I know. He's so good.
What are you doing, Flora?
Yeah.
What is this? What is this? It's so good.
Yeah. He's like, wine? At 11 o'clock in the morning, Flora?
He's got the
Half a pint.
It's just,
It's so good.
there's so many lines.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want people to think that's just comedy because it is really funny. It's really touching too. There was some standout lines in it. I mean, did you, when you read the script, had the same reaction I had when Joseph Gordon-Levitt says it's when they smile with their mouth and not with their eyes? That's enough because we've seen it, all of us.
Yeah.
But it's the kicker at the end when you say, what does that mean? And he says, it means it didn't change them.
Yeah. I know. It really hits home for musicians.
Deep. Very deep. Because I've never heard anyone put it in the context of something I've created is designed ultimately to change your molecular structure. But that's what it does.
It does. Yeah. And I think John definitely sort of wrote that character through his perspective, his experience of being a musician and going out and being a sort of a solo singer. And he told me, you know, he was in the Frames and then he was like, I realized the importance of a frontman. You know, you have to have a great frontman to tell that story.
Yeah.
And he went out and he tried to write his songs and he did that, you know, with girls and with record producers, and that thing would happen. That face would come to him. And it's kind of amazing that he found film because he does that with film. He does change people with film, but it comes from his music.
Yeah.
It's kind of a beautiful,
you know,
beautiful story.
The only path for music, in fact, for any art, it doesn't have to be in like sold out shows and top of the charts and all that sort of stuff. Like, I've had a really great life in music.
Yeah.
And love what I do because I get to speak the artist's language in a way that could only have happened because I was in the studio trying it myself, right? I'm not an outsider. I feel like I'm connected to it.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine for someone like John to write his movies is therapy for him.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But also that's big for anybody acting those parts because you are kind of representing a part of his soulful journey.
Oh yeah, I'm representing his mom.
Yeah.
That's about his mom,
It's crazy.
And he'll say this himself. He's like, we had this complicated relationship, but she bought me my first guitar, and there was things I wanted to get from the music shop, and she took me and she helped me buy them, and it changed his life. And so it's kind of beautiful that she's totally not Flora. It's inspired.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful now in his sort of later years, now that he has kids and everything, he's really recognizing how important that was for him.
Well, because we do the best we can, right? When we're parents, and it's only later when you come back to the source and you're able to make peace with things that you figure out that even the things you thought were like at the time traumatic and awful, and you've done the work, and you're like, actually, without that, I'm not here. Like I'm not doing what I do.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about this is the chemistry between you and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which for the most part exists on a computer screen. Very meta-modern relationship development here, but reveals itself beautifully without giving too much away in the film. How were those to shoot? How was that happening? Were you actually seeing him on the screen? I know it's a weird mechanical question, but I was trying to figure out how you were actually bouncing off each other.
It was actually really difficult. So we had Joe come for a week. The whole shoot was about 5 weeks, but he came in for a week, and we were shooting. I mean, it was so low budget. We shot in the sports hall of like someone's school, and like pretended that was a studio, and built the inside of the apartment, and then built the inside of his studio in California. And so we were on the same set but far away, and then we had to have these in-ears where he's on the screen live, but he's only coming through one ear because the mic had to pick up my sound.
Right.
So I think the first day we did it, we were like, whew, this is tricky.
How do we get inside
building chemistry with someone, no matter what, first day is hard. Building chemistry through Zoom is hard, but then also having to do it with the in-ear and everything was really complicated. But we got there in the end, and I just think it comes off. And I also love the kind of just the marriage of America and Ireland in sort of the language that we have with each other, and the way he speaks to me, the way I speak to him.
Yeah.
I just think it's just this perfect little combination.
Well, he's not as buttoned up as he presents himself in the beginning, and that unravels over time, and you realize there's a broken man there. And at the same time, Flora, who comes across as a completely hot mess, turns out to actually have her shit together, contribute a lot of value to this guy's life. And so it's a crazy scale swap.
Yeah, he's like, what about the lesson? She's like, this is the lesson. Write down my lyrics, It's brilliant.
And there's something really amazing about, if you're an artist and you're watching this, not just if you love the arts or you're a music fan or a fan of yourself or the film, there's something about just this kind of idea of execution that comes across in this film, this lack of fear. I think, and I wonder if you've experienced this in your life, where your own expectations, or perhaps even the perceived expectations of others, has rooted you in place and made it difficult for you to take that step forward? Or are you good at execution? Because I've struggled with it.
I mean, that's actually such a good question for this topic, because this was absolutely sort of my Mount Everest of things that I would never have done. I never would have sang, ever. Not in a million years. I can dance, I can act, I can make you laugh, but you couldn't pay me to sing. And it was such a hurdle for me to get over. And I fell in love with Flora so instantly when I read the script that I had to do it. I was like, I'm not letting this get away from me. This is my part, and I'm going to make it happen. And I'm just going to have to get over. I mean, I'd rather swim with sharks. I would rather be eaten by an alligator.
I love your family. I've met almost everybody in your family. If I have met everybody in your family, I know everybody.
You have.
And I love everyone in your family, right? I feel like me and my family are extended family. I saw your mum about like a month ago. It was amazing.
She's here.
She's the best. They're incredible. I say that to say that I know that there's a sing-along tradition in your house. Did you just go sit in a corner and eat worms or something? You're like, I don't do this.
You know what's so funny is when I was young, all I wanted to do was sing. Like,
Right.
I was obsessed with Aaliyah.
Yeah,
And
obs.
I was just like, she was my queen. I would like pray to Aaliyah. I would just be like, I want to be like her. I want to act. I want to sing. I want to dance. But then I tried singing and I wasn't a good singer.
Oh, man.
And I was like,
Such a
this
bad
is
day.
devastating
Such a bad day.
because I thought I would be such an amazing pop star. I was like, wouldn't I be great? Then I realized that like
I have this image of that moment in my.
seriously, I was just like, oh no.
I have this image of your mother holding your dad's head in her lap, just stroking his head. It's okay. There are other children.
I know. He's like, we need to make the
There are
boys.
other
We need to make the boys. She's not going to cut it. He's like, you know what, Eve? You're going to be fine in Hollywood.
Amazing.
Yeah,
love that.
so it's funny when I go to my brother's shows and I'm
Yeah.
so proud of him and
Yeah.
his band Inhaler and
They're wicked.
and he's also like a rock star, but he's the best, like sweetest, most polite kid.
He's a great bandmate is what he is, too.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And
Yeah.
I go to his shows and I'm like drinking backstage, eating all their pizza. And I'm like, woo, let's throw a TV out the window. He's like, no, Eve, this is why you can't sing. You're not allowed to be a rock star.
Maybe that is, you know what, there's something to that. The kind of human being you are maybe
Yeah.
shouldn't have done this job.
I shouldn't. And acting makes me disciplined.
Yeah.
I got to go to bed early.
Yeah.
I got to be healthy. I've got to have structure. And it's like actually much better for me. But yeah, so the complex of the singing thing came from a very early age. And I just completely, was never, ever, ever going to do this. And it was a really great experience to actually go, I don't have to be so scared of this anymore. I can put myself out there. I don't have to be Beyonce. I took this class at NYU when I studied drama there with this teacher, and it was called Acting a Song. Her name was Betsy Parrish, and she was this legend. And obviously acting a song for me, it was like my worst class. And there were people in there that were like musical theater geeks and they were so good and
Everything's a song.
yeah, they're la la la,
Yeah,
crying and throwing their
Yeah.
jackets on the ground. And I would get up there and I'd be like, da, 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 da. And my poor friends would be sitting there going, you can do this. It was awful. And there were other people too, by the way, that were not great, but I was particularly traumatized. And I remember our teacher, Betsy, she would say to us, she would let us, get through the first bit and we would embarrass ourselves and want to die. And then she would say, well, who is your character singing to? And why is she saying what she's saying? What is she trying to say to this person? What is the relationship? She would go into that. And people would do it again and it would be 100 times better.
So what did you learn from that? What did she achieve
It
with
was
that?
like, you're not singing to hit a note. You're singing because you have something you need to express.
Right.
And I always remembered that. It
She was
doesn't have
designing
to
a connection.
sound
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
It has to come from a true moment and it has to come from a need and a story. And so when I was doing this, I said to John in our meeting, I was like, listen, not Mariah Carey. So just, that's not going to happen.
But it's not A Star Is Born, so you're okay.
Exactly. And also my pitch was like, listen, if she had never sang before and she's been living this life for 30 years and then all of a sudden she sounds like Mariah Carey, or Celine Dion, it's not going to work. That's not
Seen that
realistic.
We've seen that film.
Yeah. And I
many
was
times.
like, I can give you something that sounds true, that it sounds like someone expressing themselves. I can do that. And he was like, that's what I want.
That's one of the things I love the most about the film is, look, I'm hard on films with music.
Yeah, of course.
I find it challenging to believe the connection between it needs to be super believable for me, for the music to really be connected to the narrative of the film. Otherwise, I feel like they're using each other, and I just fall apart from the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so for me, what I loved about it was that it was such a truly authentic journey through the creative development. like Dublin '07 is one of the
So
fucking
good.
brilliant,
My favorite track.
incredible.
Yeah.
And you wrote on that, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We got something real. That was
It's
like
actually
one of
such a good moment there, because
Yeah.
when you come in on that, I'm like, oh, that actually is fucking sick.
It is sick.
It's sick.
Yeah.
It's really cool. But what's great about it is that, like, hearing this kid, he didn't come out and spit like J. Cole. He sounded like a kid trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Trying to sound cool, he's like talking about like his like moves in bed, and she's like, what?
That was great. The look on your face was like,
Yeah,
this is fun
okay.
about that.
Okay. Yeah, no, that scene was really fun to shoot. But seeing him kind of discover himself, and then how she sort of is so proud of him. Like,
Yeah.
wow, this is so great.
What
like,
a
look
role
at this kid.
he played, this guy.
He's amazing, Oren. I love him so much.
So what's it like acting? I don't know if you've acted, at least in such close proximity for such a prolonged period of the film, alongside a kid. I mean, you're still a kid. You're 14. You're still a kid.
And you never know, also, like with kid actors, you just don't know what you're
Yeah,
going to get.
yeah.
You could have crazy parents. I mean, you just really don't know.
Yeah.
But this was not the case. Oren, this was his first film.
Amazing.
And he was just like a sponge. I mean, just so excited. And my first movie, I was 15, and he turned 15 on the job. And I remember being that enthralled with the whole experience. He would say like, oh, I have to go home now and I'm not back for a week. And he would be crushed. And I remember that. I remember never wanting to leave set. I remember just wanting, like, so excited to get up there and go see everyone on the crew and all my new friends and, do this thing. And so I think we all collectively found joy in watching him have this new experience, that it made us really excited about what we were doing.
I'd imagine for you, and subsequently for him, and anyone of that age that discovers a new profession and a professional family of sorts, that in that moment you realize that you actually have some value that is you don't have to justify it through the lens of your age.
Yeah.
It's like, no. You're as important as the DOP or the gaffer or that actor or the director or the producer or that. You're playing just as important a role.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen without you as much as it doesn't happen without everybody else. Whereas when you're that age, every time you show up to do anything, it's like you got to be 14 when you do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're really good for a 14-year-old. Like, it's not like that when you're an actor, I don't think.
No,
Is
it's
it?
not. It's such a big responsibility, and it's such a big emotional journey for him when he has like big scenes, big stuff to do.
Oh, that courtroom scene is just, was pretty teary.
It breaks my heart.
When you're looking through the window in that moment when he looks for you.
I know. And you just see the back of his head, and he just looks so
Lost.
small, so lost, so not the person that he is rapping about who he is,
Brilliant. Really brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck, man. I was sobbing like a child. when I watched this.
Yes, we gotcha.
How important for the role and for the decision to take this film and for the desire, like the I'm not leaving until I get this role aspect of how you approach this was going home.
I lived in New York.
In New York, yeah, in the States.
And because of the pandemic, I was basically, we got the last flight out before they closed the borders.
So that's what I'm referring to is going back and getting a sense of the community again, albeit during the pandemic. I understand from a restricted point of view, but just, this is really about accepting your environment and trying to find joy in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it yourself, and it's like, is it nighttime there? No, it's this fucking grim all the time.
I know it is. It is. That got a big laugh in Ireland.
Got a big laugh in my office too when I was watching it.
It did.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a special, weird, strange thing because I was living my life in New York for 10 years and the pandemic sent me home and I couldn't get back into this country for 2 years. And I started working with Irish writers and Irish directors, Sharon Horgan on Bad Sisters, and then John Carney. And they have been my favorite experiences, my favorite characters. Like there's something about playing people that like I know Flora. I was Flora as a teenager and I hung out with Floras And I was raised by Flora's, like she's so a part of who I am, that I felt this need. I remember saying to John, I was like, I have to do this. And usually I'm quite like, yeah, it would be great. I would really like it. If you would like me to do it, I would like to do it, And this was like, no, I'm doing this. And I think he was like, okay, Flora, like, yeah, you're Flora. But yeah, it's a very, very special thing playing a character from your home.
Whether you realized it or not, it's got to have been one of the best moves of your sort of career, quote unquote, career thus far.
Yeah.
Because you've been acting for some time. You've been in really notable films, worked with notable directors. You are successful as an actor. You are a working, successful actor. But like you said, since you've gone home, Bad Sisters is like a watched show and a loved show and a successful show. And this movie is revered and just getting warmed up. By the way, it is just warming up, this film.
Yeah. I hope so.
No, it is. It's I wouldn't even go as far as to say it's word of mouth, because I think social media and the way things move now, it moves quick. And I think the fact that you're willing to come out and continue to celebrate it is a real sign of the fact that if you won't let it go,
oh no,
then it can't stop.
I won't let anything go.
Yeah.
Definitely not this.
So you probably don't realize it, but I mean, in a way, going home and reconnecting with that truth has it been great for your craft, irrespective of the results of the TV shows and the films and stuff?
I think so too. And I also think that, Dervla Walsh, who directs Bad Sisters, and John Carney, we have the same taste. And that's because I think we're Irish. Like, we have the same sense of humor. We love the same eccentric things. We also have a very high standard of performance, I think, as Irish people. And so working with them, having them push me and feeling like, oh, yeah, you're right, actually. Like, that was okay, but I know we can do better. I mean, I always say John is so mad. Like, he's just like this mad sort of like teacher, like, he's tall. He kind of reminds me of this like music teacher I had when I was younger. His name was Mr. Finucane. I'm like, you're Mr. Finucane. But like, he'll shout at you and he'll be like, okay, Eve, that was 87% good. 87% good. And we need to get it to a 95. And I'm like, you know what, John? Let's get it to a 98. He's like, okay, let's go. We'll go again. And I think other people might find that really shocking, but I completely understand his language. I completely respect and love that he has a certain level of performance that he will not settle. Like he will push you. He won't let you, rest on your laurels. And I feel that way so much. Like, do not tell me that it's okay and I can go home. If it's shit, I want to know. And I want to come back and try something else and go for it, because this scene is worth it. The character's worth it. So we really bonded on that level, where we were just pushing each other and trying to make each other laugh and trying to come up with new things. And it felt very different to any other kind of experiences I've had. And I think that's just an Irish way.
Did he help you, or did anyone help you, or did you just figure out yourself how you were going to transform Flora physically? Because it's not just from a dialogue point of view or the way that the story unfolds and the light starts to come into the room, but the first images of Flora when she's not out night clubbing or copping off is you've got this look on your face of just the most not bothered of all time. And it is phenomenal, like the way you transform Flora into this just...
Yeah.
Everything is fucking shit face, right?
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, the smile and the light in the eyes and the whole thing, it's like a whole other different human being.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by that transition and that journey and how you pulled that off.
I mean, for the first 2 months, I was just like, oh my God, gotta learn guitar, gotta learn how to sing, gotta learn guitar, gotta learn how to sing. And then I was like, oh no, the character, and I thought there were so many different kind of women that I could play her like. And I don't know why this came to me, but I just was like, she's an ostrich.
She's an ostrich.
And that kind of like flirty, fun, you think they're oh, great, beautiful.
But they will kick
and they
you
will
in the shins. They'll
headbutt
fuck you up.
and fuck you up.
They'll fuck you up. There's an ostrich farm near a place that we go
Yeah.
to in San Ynez. And it is the most, like, everyone thinks, look at the ostrich. There's like 150, 200 ostriches in a field. I'm like, if you jumped the fence and gone that field, you're fucking dead.
Yeah, no,
They'll kill you.
They'll kill you. They will kill you.
kill you.
And so she just kind of, I was like, oh, it's an ostrich. And I think that was like a lot of my kind of physical looking at people and the sort of pout and that kind of scrunch in my face, but also the walk. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people have said to me, the walk.
The walk.
And it's kind of like an
Well,
ostrich on a mission.
It's very purposeful.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
And it's also kind of don't fuck with me, but it does. Even that softens toward the end of the film.
Yeah.
It's incredible watching the transformation. And honestly, hats off to you, Eve, for it's amazing acting the way that you go from this individual who looks like she would kick your teeth in to actually like she's making peace with everything.
Yeah. And there's like the beautiful thing about acting is there should be 1,000 different layers to one person. I feel like depending on the time of day,
Yeah.
I might fuck you up or I might like
Yeah.
want to cry and be held.
So how do you
So-
how do you prepare to dive into the scene and give it what it needs, given that prior to that preparation or prior to that moment when you're required to go into role, you are living the Eve Hewson life. You're living a normal life. You're probably on the phone to somebody, figuring something else out for later, or
Yeah.
giving someone an answer for something, doing something else. So do you have a process of how you prepare to become Flora?
I do. I mean, it changes with every part that I do. And I like that. I like finding new things. Different directors want different things. Some want to rehearse, some don't. I mean, John was like, we don't need to rehearse. Like, it's fine. It's comedy. And I was like, it's in the back. We're fine. And then we get there on our first day and we're like, oh my God, we should have rehearsed. What are we doing?
Right.
You know? But with Flora, it was the dialogue or the dialect. I had, this is terrible to say, but there's this viral voicemail that went around like Irish YouTube of Conor McGregor's sister
Right.
shouting at her dog groomer for like, you know, whatever reason. And she goes absolutely insane. She's like, the neck on you, the fucking neck on you. I had to cancel my fucking facial because you said I had to pick up my fucking dog. Who the fuck do you think you are? And a friend sent it to me when I was kind of working on finding her. And I was like, this is so my vibe. I loved it. And I kind of had this looped in my head as I would like kind of, we would go and they would roll and I would thinking like, yeah, the fucking neck on you, the neck. And then once you kind of get into the ostrich.
Holy shit, you just floor it up. That was crazy. You just went, and I was like, wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, and then you get the ostrich going, and then you've got your dialect, and then you're in it. And also, what I love about John is like it's like let's try 1,000 different things in different ways, and it was just really exciting. He and we really did have a great chemistry where we could kind of light each other up.
Is he open to improv on the
Loves
set? Loves it.
Loves improv. Loves like, I mean, there were scenes like the courtroom scene. It's actually not even in the movie, but he had written this full monologue where she gets up and she says, listen, like this isn't the kid's fault. This is my problem. I haven't been, taking responsibility as a parent. I haven't been taking care of him, but I promise you now I will. Please don't put him in. I've got this. Don't punish him, punish me. All of this stuff, talking about her hardship of her life or whatever. And I said to John that day, I was like, I mean, there's no way I can do this earnestly. Like, this is just going to be like that moment in the movie where she gets up and she gives a monologue. I was like, I actually think like it should be funny. And he was like, well, I actually wrote that seriously. He was like, but I think you're right.
Right.
And he had the like confidence to be like, you know what, you're right. And so we did it in a way where I'm kind of putting on a performance
Yeah.
instead of speaking from the heart. Like
Yeah.
Flora's like, oh, this is what the judge is going to need to hear.
Yeah, but what's beautiful is that the judge just doesn't buy it for a fucking
Doesn't
second. It's
buy
like, wait
it.
a minute, your parents are together, but just said, whatever. And that scene where you're just like, please don't do it, please don't do it. We've seen it in every film.
Exactly.
And for the judge to go, you know what? I'd make a mockery of this system if he doesn't get something.
Mm-hmm.
That's super real.
But what was crazy about it was John was like, my mum lied for me once to get me out of trouble. And I'll never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I just remember being, I'm in the shit right now. And she fully lied. I think it was his principal or something. And he was like, I remember just thinking, holy shit, she's so cool. So in the middle of the monologue, I turn around to him and he's like, give the kid a wink.
Yeah.
And so I winked at him and then gave the rest of the thing. And he's looking at me. And it was that it didn't even make it in the movie because in the film, in the structure of the film emotionally, it doesn't make sense to kind of play that game with the audience.
But also the look that you have with Max in the film is way more poignant than that.
That's John too. He said on the day, he was like, I just want to do a shot of you guys just looking at each other. That's the one that makes me cry.
That's the one that got me really going because at the end of the day, like the two of you are so desperate for connection, but circumstances prevail. And it's like in that moment where the bleakest of circumstances are presenting themselves for the two of you and nothing else matters but the two of you.
Yeah.
It's like it all falls away in that moment.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, oh shit, there's some healing on the horizon.
Yeah, and she's looking at him like, you're it. This is it.
We're
this
in
is
this
what we
together.
have.
Yeah,
I
we're
can't
in
run
this-
away from this anymore. This is
Yeah. I thought she was going to when she backs away from
I
him.
know.
Is that the point? I thought she's gonna leave him in there.
I know. She was thinking about it, wasn't she?
What a movie. You have to see it, everybody. It's called Flora and Son. I was I was excited to see you and talk about it anyway because I love the idea of you writing songs and being so much curiosity to it. But when I actually watched the film, I was like, oh, that's why I was going to text you last night. I was like, I can't wait to talk about this film because there's so many layers to it. And I really think people need to allow themselves the opportunity to watch it. It will really stick with you. The co-writes, right? We joked about at the top, but the idea of putting lyrics into the music as well and making sure that you and also Flora are actually committed like you are in the film.
Yeah.
Was that John's idea?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we came up to like few days before shooting and there was no songs. And of course I'm, insecure about my singing. So I'm like, what? I thought that I would have like a month to get over, to do this. And John's like, yeah, we're figuring it out. We're going to figure it out. And he sends me a demo of High Life. And I was like, I don't believe these words, like I'm already scared about opening up my mouth and doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just don't feel this is right. And he just texted me back and he was like, well, why don't you write the lyrics and like, we'll go into the studio and see what we can do. And I was like, oh, and I wrote songs when I was like 10 years old. I had a band. So I was like, oh yeah, that's not that daunting. I can do that. And it's from my character's perspective. It's a great exercise. And so what ended up happening was we would shoot Monday through Friday. Saturdays we would meet at Camden Recording Studios and we would come in with lyrics and ideas and melodies and just jam and eat bananas and drink tea and smoke and talk. And, it was, I remember sitting there being like, this is fantastic. This is so much more than I thought this movie was going to be. And it was so right for me because I grew up playing the piano, the guitar, the drums. Like, this is such a part of my childhood that I stepped away from to be an actor. And now it's like weirdly come back around and I'm comfortable here, And it was so cool of John and Gary Clark, our musical director, to ask us to do that. And ask Joe to come in as well for that rooftop scene and that song. To be like, these are your characters. Like, what are your ideas? Let's all write this together as a group. And now I'm like a songwriter.
A songwriter for real. Like I said, you got pub, man.
Yeah.
Pub, you got pub and rights, points and all that good stuff.
I did.
Listen, it's like I said, the music is great. The film is fantastic. I really admire the fact that you I know it's really hard for actors through the actors strike and for the industry as a whole to figure out what to do with things that everyone had already invested in, let alone what you were going to do tomorrow or next week or a year from now.
Yeah.
It must have been really painful to know when this film came out that there really wasn't a lot you could actually do.
There was nothing I could do.
Yeah.
And that was really heartbreaking, but I just kept saying to myself, well, we had Sundance, and Sundance really was special.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it did
That's
break my
very
heart.
present of you, actually, to hold on to a moment and a memory without the ability to be able to change the circumstances.
It was hard because when you make something, and I've done things that I love, that I'm proud of, but this is so much more than that for me. This character, this experience, the people that worked on this movie.
Home.
It's like we all really like each other.
Yeah, you've said multiple times, I know Flores. I know these people. I was these people. This is home.
Yeah.
Like it's
So, but now it's done and we can go out there and please go see this movie. I swear to God, guys.
Oh, you have to.
It's gorgeous. It's 90 minutes of fun, laughter, little bit of tears,
I was
and
sad when
a
it
lot
ended.
of attitude.
I don't know why. Because it had been such a feel-good ride, I was like, come on, man, let me just at least let her get off a plane in LA. Like, let's do something.
That's what my sister said. She was crying when she saw it. She never went to the hot guy in LA.
I mean, I'm assuming she did go to the hot guy in LA, but it was no, it was really fucking cool. And where does this, well, I mean, I generally talk to musicians, and my question as we near the end of a conversation is where's your artistic spirit in terms of writing, performing? Where do you see yourself going next? How does this inform the next move? But I'm only just starting to really kind of get into other arts. It's super curious for me. And so I have to reframe that question because to some degree, there's probably a little bit of a waiting game going on for the right thing to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the learning that you've developed where it's now you could go and manifest your own projects and do your own things. So where does it sit for you?
In a really good place. I think I feel so much more confident having gone through this film because it was so the one thing I would never do. And
the music side of it.
The music side of it.
You are funny. Yeah. The comedy thing comes real natural. Yeah.
And so comedy is my favorite thing in the world now. And I only really want to make funny stuff.
So lane is wide open for you on that.
I really think that, I mean, not to get all foo-foo about it, but there's so much shit going on and people are so stressed in the world. Can we not make more fun-loving, laughter-filled, attitude punk, bring people on a journey where they go, oh my God, I believe in life again,
There's room for that.
There
sure.
is. And what I like about this movie is that it's also optimistic.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, it's realistic and optimistic, which is the perfect combination.
Yeah.
Right? Overly optimistic films, it's all right, I know what I'm getting myself in for here. Mm-hmm. I'll take what I can, but the rest I got to leave on the floor, right?
Yeah.
But this one really sticks with you because it finds optimism in even the bleakest situation. Flora and Son, Flora and Max are not living a great life. Mm-hmm. It's a tough life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And they find joy in it. And I also love that it's their moment together at the end that's what it is. It's not going off to become a superstar.
There's no record
Their life
deal.
isn't
There's no
really going to change.
You got Moxie, kid. Sign here.
Exactly.
Your life's about to change.
It's no, this is about music, bringing people together, having a connection, changing the chemistry of people's relationships and their souls. And they may continue to live in that apartment, but they've changed, And I think that's so much more interesting than her going off to LA and becoming
It's just not. It's not in line with the journey you go on.
Mm-hmm.
You find yourself watching it, listening to the songs, connecting with the characters, willing good things to happen, but not from a sort of make-believe dreams can come true point of view.
Yeah.
Just a simple healing, I think, is all anybody wants in that film.
Yeah. Simple healing.
Simple healing. Fully achieved. Beautiful. Really good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and congrats on everything, and in particular on the film. I mean, by the way, on everything. I mean, like I said, I feel like you show up in my house all the time on various things.
Good.
So,
Haunting you
yes,
with my jokes.
like, there she is again. Not so much with the jokes until very recently. I mean, a little bit of, I would say Bad Sisters is funny, but it's also dark comedy.
It is.
It's pretty dark comedy. You know?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot there.
I mean, have you got anything, just my last question, have you got anything that you, and you have to give it away, but like, have you got a character or an idea or something that you want to develop that comes from you and you work with the people and you build around you and it's not waiting for the right role? It's like, I've got someone I know I want to tell this story.
There is one person that has come up that I won't say.
Yeah, of course.
But after this film, I kind of thought, ooh, I think I could do that. So that's something kind of we're trying to figure out. But also, I like to just kind of read and see what I feel. And some characters that I play, I have to really find, and I don't know anything about them, and I don't really like them. And I'm like, oh, I don't. I have to really be an actor and find it. And then there are some characters that are just there, like they're just ready to come out of you. Like Flora was just living inside of me, ready to pop, you know, and I didn't know that needed to happen until I read the script.
Can I propose something really weird? And I don't know if I'm the first person to do it.
Go for it.
I could watch that family again.
Mm-hmm. That's what people have said.
I could see another one.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd be down.
I can see another one because there's a lot that's sort of left open, but not like a wait for it kind of thing.
Yeah.
It just, when the title comes up, you're surprised it's over.
I know. I love that title as well.
Same. And I love the way it's done and it's great. And it takes a second and then you're like, okay, if this is where it sits, this is where it sits. Let me do a quick emotional audit. Am I okay with that? Do I feel good about it? Yep. That worked out great for them. That's cool. I kind of figured they'll get together. I really like the dad, even though he's such a drop kick, but I love seeing him on the bass. That bit where he tries to slap the bass and you're like, no. What did you said something like,
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's just the absolutely
nope,
not
your
of it.
moment.
It's the absolutely not of it, which is fucking fantastic. But it did make me think, like, and especially talking to you today, why wouldn't you just? Because a little bit of an older Max and a little bit of an older Flora is still
be interesting.
fucking funny.
It'd still be fucking funny.
Really funny.
It would. We got to talk to John about that. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have reached out being like, I want more. Like, I want another one. I want a TV show. There's so many things we need to see them do. So who knows?
Flora and Teen. I mean, it's going to be funnier.
It would be amazing.
I have teenagers way funnier.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eve.
Thank you so much, Zane.